I've been an avid newspaper reader since I was 8 years old, and I started with the comics and grew from that. But pretty much by the time I was 10, I was reading the paper from front to back every day. And one of the columns that I've always enjoyed reading is either Dear Abby or Dear Ann Landers. And sometimes I would read them and I would agree with what they said. Other times I would disagree. Other times I would question. But I often learned from the advice that they would offer to those who wrote in. And while there are many letters, most of them I have totally forgotten, there's one that sticks out in my memory that I read probably 50 years ago or better. And it was a letter from a young man, 16 years old, almost still a boy, but he was looking ahead to his future, and he just told Anne that he was Jewish and that he was 16 and was trying to make choices about what he would do in college. And he wanted to know, was there a career choice that he could make that would assure him a long and happy life? And I don't remember whether it was Anne or Dear Abby, but it was one or the other. And Abby wrote back and said, "You're the wrong religion and the wrong gender." That group of people that has enjoyed the longest and happiest lives are Catholic religious women. Nuns, we call them. Which was a very interesting response. And I think that's true. Mother houses are filled with women who now are retired and living into their 80s and 90s and even beyond. And what is it about their life that enabled them to live so long? It's not just genetics, because obviously they come from many different backgrounds. But the reality is that these are women who have learned that giving of themselves brought them real joy in life. That was the key to happiness. And so many of them were teachers, which many of us experienced along the way, but they were nurses and social workers and did all kinds of works of mercy, reaching out to the poor and the forgotten and the lowly. And yes, there were some who were not happy women, but most of them were really happy, joyful people. And they found the key to living a long life. And it sounds counterintuitive. But again, what Jesus is saying in the gospel is very clear. That if you want to live a long and happy life, give of yourself. Don't live for yourself, but live for others. Unless you're willing to take up your cross, unless you are willing to take on the burdens and challenges of life, not just your life, but the lives of others. Unless you're willing to do that, you really won't find yourself. You won't find joy in this life. It doesn't mean that you won't have sadness, but I always think back to a saying that I've had near my desk ever since I first received it back 48 years ago. A small plaque that says, "Joy is not the absence of suffering, but the presence of God." Philip, you have 2 children. Together, you and Claire, I'm sure, if I were to ask you what you would want for Claire and for Philip, more than anything else, it's to have a happy and long life. And the Lord Jesus gives you the key to that today. But the key is cross-shaped. As St. James tells us, that faith, real faith, is not just saying, "I believe in God," but living that faith. He calls it works. We call it putting that faith into action. And if you're looking for what that means, check Matthew 25. Matthew 25 gives us the questions that are part of the final exam, that when we stand before the Lord at the end in the final judgment, He's not going to ask, "Did you believe in me?" He's not going to say, "How did you feel about me?" He's not even going to ask, "Did you sin?" He's going to say, "When I was hungry, did you give me something to eat? When I was thirsty, did you give me something to drink? When I was naked, did you clothe me? Oh, and that right at the right time, as Isla is laying there without anything on. Timing is everything, Isla. When I was naked, did you give me something to wear? I handed over the towel earlier, so. Remember that? When I was ill and in prison, did you visit me? When I was a stranger, did you welcome me? In the end, the question will be not on what did we believe, but did we put those beliefs in action? And if you want Isla and Philip to have a long and happy life, teach them to live not for themselves, but for others. More than anything else, teach them that by showing them that. Because the truth is that they'll learn a whole lot better from your actions than they will from your words. But if you want them to have a long and happy life, and Landers knew that, dear Abby knew that, because Jesus taught us that to live a long and happy life, the key is to live a cross-shaped life, one that's filled with faith, that reaches out to touch the lives of others. Isla, may you learn a cross-shaped life. That's why at the very beginning, we signed you with that cross as a reminder of how we are to live. Come now.